Welcome to Under the Surface. This is where we slow down and look at the patterns underneath the stories we tell ourselves. Today's chapter is called Believe in Yourself and Set Goals. Welcome to No One is Normal, the podcast where real stories remind us that none of us are alone. You can also visit the website www.bradhhill.com or www.nooneisnormal.co for resources, updates, and future podcast episodes. I am Brad H. Hill, and each week we talk about the messy, the complicated, and the deeply human moments that shape us and remain in our memories. I am not here to tell anyone how to live. I am here to offer the stories, the insights that made me realize that no one is normal, including me, because healing starts when self-honesty begins. There is a special kind of silence that shows up when no one ever tells you, I believe in you. You do the work, you show up, you try to be a good person, and still nothing. No big speech, no pep talk, no movie moment where someone takes you by the shoulders and says, you've got this. For a long time, I looked for that moment everywhere, in teachers, in bosses, in friends. I wanted someone to look at me and see more than I could see in myself. Sometimes it happened. Most of the time, it didn't. And when it did, it usually came at a crossroads, a career change, a risk, a moment where I was standing on the edge, looking down, trying to decide whether to jump or turn back. The one steady voice in my corner was my wife. When I doubted myself, she would say, I believe in you. Not with the motivational poster tone, but in that quiet, matter-of-fact way that made me feel like maybe I wasn't completely crazy for wanting more. I'm grateful for that. But here's what I had to learn the hard way. Her belief could encourage me, but it could not carry me, because at some point, every single one of us runs into the same wall. The promotion does not come. The plan blows up. The people we thought would stand by us disappear. The applause stops. The only voice left in the room is our own. And the question becomes simple and brutal. Do I believe in me when nobody else is clapping? In this episode, I want to walk through what it looked like for me to go from faking confidence to actually building it, from drifting without a plan to setting goals that actually match the life I wanted. This is not about hustle culture or grinding until you fall apart. This is about learning to trust yourself enough to aim at something on purpose and then move toward it one honest step at a time. If you have ever put off a dream because you did not feel ready or stayed small because you were waiting for permission, this episode is for you. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You might just be one decision, one goal, one act of self-belief away from the next version of you. For most of my early life, I did not walk around soaking in encouragement. No one was pulling me aside saying, you're going to do something big, or I see something in you. I had work, responsibility, and survival. That kind of upbringing builds a strong work ethic, but it does not automatically build a strong belief in yourself. By the time I hit my late teens and 20s, I looked like I was functioning from the outside. I was showing up, joking around, doing the job, but inside I felt like I was wandering with no map, faking confidence I did not actually feel. I would not have called it depression back then. It just felt like a constant hum of, is this really all there is? I did not feel special or chosen. I did not see myself as the kind of person big things happen to, so I did what a lot of us do. I played my part. I acted like I was fine with whatever job I had. I laughed louder, pretended I was easygoing, and kept my deeper doubts to myself. Underneath all of that was a quieter belief I did not want to say out loud. Good things were for other people who were smarter, cleaner, less messed up than me. The shift started when I realized I was not missing some magical talent. I was missing belief, the boring, unsexy kind psychologists call self-efficacy. Not hype, not ego, just the grounded sense of, I do not know how yet, but I can figure it out. That belief did not show up by accident. It arrived the moment I stopped drifting and actually asked myself what I wanted from my life. Not what my parents wanted, not what looked impressive, what I wanted my days to look like, what kind of work felt meaningful, what success meant on my terms instead of somebody else's. Once I started asking those questions, I could see how easy it is to climb the wrong ladder. You can spend years chasing a version of success you never chose, only to realize the life you are killing yourself for does not even fit you. I saw that in my own career and in my relationships, in situations where my goals and someone else's were completely out of sync. One of us wanted growth and challenge, the other wanted comfort and staying put. Neither was wrong, but pretending those differences did not matter just created resentment. I had to accept that my happiness was my responsibility. That meant being honest about my direction, even if it risked disappointing people. Belief by itself was not enough. I could tell myself, I've got this all day and still stay stuck if I did not put structure around it. That is where real goal setting came in. I moved from vague wishes, I want to be successful, to specific targets, roles I might want, levels I wanted to reach, skills I needed to build. I started looking at people who were already where I wanted to go and asking, what do they actually do? What do they know that I don't yet? From there, I broke things down into steps, classes, projects, leadership opportunities, the unglamorous extra work that builds real experience. On that path, I ran right into other people's doubt. There was a moment where a manager nominated me for an operations role, and instead of it being a celebration, I ended up sitting in a room while the owner basically tore me down in front of everyone, saying I could not handle pressure, that I was not ready, that I would fold. Nobody defended me. Nobody pushed back. It would have been easy to let that meeting become my internal script. See, they're right. Stay small. Stay in your lane. Instead, something in me hardened in a different way. Not bitterness, but resolve. If I was going to fail, it was not going to be because I believed their version of me more than my own. Not long after, life handed me a test. That same company came back and asked me to take over a struggling division. The numbers were bad, morale was worse, and they needed someone to fix it. I could have turned it down out of pride, but I saw the opportunity not to show them, but to see what I was truly capable of. I took it. I put my head down. I worked stupidly hard. Processes, people, culture, ownership. Over time, things turned around. Later, when another company offered me a role that matched the value I was bringing, I took that step too, leaving on good terms and with my head up. Hearing afterward that the owner regretted not building a path for me did not make me smug. It confirmed something I had been slowly building. Belief in myself, backed by clear goals and consistent action. At the core, this chapter is about that combination. Believe in yourself and set goals is not a motivational poster. It is a blueprint. It says your life changes when you stop waiting for someone else to crown you and start deciding what you want, what matters to you, and what steps you are actually willing to take. Taking a quick pause here. If this episode is resonating, I would love for you to follow the No One Is Normal podcast on whatever platform you listen on. Every follow helps this show reach people who might need these stories. Now let's jump back in. In the rest of this episode, I want to zoom out into how self-belief and goal setting work in real life, not as hustle culture cliches, but as tools to help you move from drifting to living on purpose. Let's pull this out of my story and into the bigger picture for a minute. Psychologists use that word self-efficacy for a reason. It is not just about feeling good about yourself. It is about your belief that you can influence events in your life, that what you do matters. People with higher self-efficacy do not magically have easier lives. They just interpret challenges differently. Where someone else might see a wall and say, well, that is it, I am done. They see a wall and think, okay, do I go around it, over it, through it, or do I build a door? The obstacle is the same. The story in their head is different, and that is where goals come in. There's a huge difference between a wish and a goal. A wish sounds like, I hope one day I get a better job. A goal sounds like, over the next 12 months, I am going to gain X skills, apply to Y roles, and talk to Z people in positions I admire. The first one leaves you waiting. The second one pulls you into motion. Goals need to be measurable and attainable. A lot of us never make that jump because self-doubt is loud. Maybe you grew up being told you were too much or not enough. Maybe you heard, be realistic, every time you talked about something that lit you up. Over time, that becomes your inner voice. You start editing your own dreams before they make it out of your mouth. Then you open social media and get hit with highlight reels. Perfect careers, perfect homes, perfect I quit my job, and now I make 7 figures in my sleep stories. And you compare your Tuesday afternoon in a job you might not love to somebody's filtered, curated, once a month win. No wonder believing in yourself feels hard. Here's what I want you to hear. Confidence is not a personality trait reserved for a certain type of person. It is a skill, and like any skill, it grows through use. Think about the first time you did anything new. First day at a job. First time driving. First time speaking in front of people. You were probably nervous, awkward. Maybe you messed up. But the more you did it, the more natural it became. Self-belief works the same way. The first time you set a real goal and say, I am doing this for me, it feels shaky. You might only whisper it to yourself. You might only tell one trusted person. You might write it down and then want to tear the page out. That is normal. Then you take a step, one step. You sign up for the class. You send the email. You apply. You ask the question. You start the project. You walk into the gym. You put $20 in savings instead of blowing it. That step is not glamorous. Nobody is clapping. But your brain notices. It goes, oh, we are doing this. And the next step gets a little easier. There's also a very real connection between goals and mental health. When we drift with no sense of direction, we feel powerless. Powerlessness feeds anxiety, anger, and depression. Having a goal, even a small one, gives your mind somewhere to aim. It is not a cure-all, but it is a stabilizer. It is also important to say this. Goals do not all have to be career-based. Our culture loves to measure success by titles and income. Those things matter, but they are not everything. For some people, a meaningful goal is, I want to be present with my kids. When I am home, I want to get through this year sober. Or I want to build a marriage that feels like partnership, not survival. Those goals deserve just as much respect as any corporate promotion. What matters is that your goals are yours, not your parents', not your bosses', not what you think will look impressive online. Yours. And here is one more piece we do not talk about enough. You can believe in yourself and still feel scared. You can set a goal and still have days where you doubt every part of it. Belief does not erase fear. It just gives you something stronger to stand on when fear shows up. If you're listening to this and thinking, okay, I get it, but I have crashed and burned so many times I'm afraid to try again, I want you to notice something. You are still here, breathing, listening, and getting another opportunity. That means failure did not end you. It taught you. It might have hurt like hell, but you learned something about who you are and what you can survive. That lesson is part of your self-belief toolkit now. You earned it. When I look back at my own life, I see a long pattern of doubting myself and waiting for other people to confirm that I was worth betting on. I remember nights where I sat there with a beer in my hand or a stomach full of junk food, replaying every rejection, every insult, every moment someone told me I was not ready or not enough, and I treated those words like they were carved into stone. I let one owner's outburst in a meeting feel bigger than the years of work I had already put in. I let a handful of people who barely knew me speak louder than the few who actually did. And underneath all of that, I realize now there was one simple truth. I did not trust myself. I did not trust my own judgment, my own resilience, or my own ability to grow. So I settled and called it being realistic. I stayed in places longer than I should have because I convinced myself I should be grateful for anything I got. It took getting knocked down, humiliated, overlooked, and then called back into the fire for me to finally understand that the person I needed to hear, "I believe in you from the most," was the one in the mirror. Self-belief for me has not been standing in front of the glass and chanting affirmations. It has been quieter and much more difficult. It has meant walking back into rooms where I was previously dismissed and doing the work anyway. It has meant setting goals that scared me and refusing to quit on them the first time I got tired or embarrassed. It has meant forgiving myself for every time I backed out, every time I quit too early, every time I sold myself short, and deciding that those moments were not the end of my story. I still have days where my confidence feels flimsy, where the old voices get loud again, but now I know something I did not know back then. I do not need everyone to believe in me. I need me to believe in me enough to take the next step, even when my legs are shaking. I want to bring this back to you for a minute, because your version of this might look very different from mine. But I am willing to bet the feelings are familiar. Maybe you are in a job right now where you know you are capable of more, but every time you think about aiming higher, that voice shows up and says, "Who do you think you are?" Maybe you are a parent who put your own dreams on hold for years, and now that you finally have a little space, you feel guilty for even wanting something for yourself. Maybe you are a student who has no idea what you want to do next, and everyone keeps asking you for some big plan you do not have yet. Or maybe you are someone who has been knocked down enough times that you are just tired. You are tired of starting over, tired of getting your hopes up, tired of watching other people seem to move forward while you feel stuck in place. If that is you, I want you to hear this clearly. You are allowed to start believing in yourself at any point in your life. There is no age limit. There is no too late. There is no rule that says you had to have it all figured out by 25. Most of us are still learning who we are well into adulthood. Some of us reinvent ourselves multiple times. That does not make you a failure. It makes you human. Self-belief shows up in small ways, long before it shows up in big ones. It might look like finally making that doctor's appointment, updating your resume, taking an online class, saying no to something that drains you, saying yes to something that stretches you, telling someone, "I want more for my life than just getting through the day." I want you to think about one time in your life when you were proud of yourself. It can be huge, but it does not have to be. Maybe you finished school when everyone said you wouldn't. Maybe you stayed sober for a week when you never thought you could. Maybe you walked away from a toxic relationship. Maybe you stood up for yourself at work. Do not brush that off. That moment mattered. That was you believing in yourself, even if you did not have the words for it at the time. Now think about a goal you have been avoiding because you do not feel ready or worthy. Something you have shoved to the back of your mind. A business idea, a creative project, a promotion, a degree, a healthier lifestyle, a boundary you needed to set. What would it look like to stop waiting for someone else to validate that goal and start taking ownership of it yourself? Not tomorrow, not next year, not someday. Now, in small, doable steps. Belief does not mean you will not be scared. It does not mean you will never fail. It means you are willing to bet that your growth is worth the risk of being uncomfortable. It means you trust that even if things do not work out exactly the way you picture them, you will still learn something, still gain something, still move forward. You do not have to shout it from the rooftops. You do not have to post it online. You do not owe anyone a big announcement. This can just be for you. But at some point, you have to decide, do I keep letting fear, old stories, and other people's opinions drive my life? Or do I take the wheel back and start steering toward something that actually feels like mine. As we wrap this up, I want to leave you with something simple and practical. Believing in yourself is not a feeling you wait for. It is a practice you build. And goals are not punishments or pressure cookers. They are signposts. They help you aim your time, your energy, and your limited bandwidth in a direction that matters to you. So here's your invitation. Sometime today, take 5 quiet minutes and write down one thing you want. Not what you think you want. Not what someone else told you to want. What you actually want. Then ask yourself, what is one small step I can take this week toward that? Not the whole thing, just the next step. That step might be uncomfortable. It might stir up doubt. Take it anyway. When your brain starts throwing every insult and failure back at you, remember this. You have already survived days you were sure would break you. You have already adapted to changes you never saw coming. You are more capable than you give yourself credit for. You do not need the whole world to believe in you before you move. You need to believe in yourself enough to begin. The rest grows as you go. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. Your story is not over. Set the goal, take the step, back yourself, even if your voice shakes. That's under the surface. Not to judge the story, not to rewrite the past, but to understand the patterns that shape how we live. If something in this chapter stirred recognition for you, sit with it. Pay attention to what keeps showing up. Awareness is where change starts. Just a reminder, the stories and conversations in this podcast are for informational and personal reflection only. Nothing shared here should be taken as medical, legal, or professional advice. Always speak with a qualified professional about your own personal situation. Thank you for listening to No One Is Normal. If today's message resonated with you, you can find the book No One Is Normal on Amazon and Kindle, and explore more resources at www.bradhhill.com or www.nooneisnormal.co. Remember, you weren't meant to be normal, you were meant to be you.